Freedom in Louisiana. 6 state Democrats bucked the party line by supporting a universal school choice bill. Democrat State Representative Jason Hughes leading the way.
I'd be damned if I will continue to defend the status quo. Too many of our children are dropping out. And then we wonder why we had to have a crime session. Because our students can hardly read. I know the political ramifications for me of voting for this bill. But I don't need this $16,800 a year job bad enough to watch our children to continue to live in poverty and trapped and failing schools and not try to do something.
Wow. Let's bring in our panel to discuss this and many other things. Founder and president of USPIE Parents Involved in Education, Sheri Few, along with senior fellow at the American Federation for Children and executive director for the Educational Freedom Institute, Corey DeAngelis. Welcome to you both. Corey, I want to begin with you. As you know, 21 fake Republicans in Texas opposed education freedom as Louisiana Democrats stand up and put children first ahead of failing GovEd schools. But it looks like concerned parents in Texas, though, will have the last laugh as they are now throwing out these backstabber Republicans out of office. Yes?
Yeah, that's right. Look, in Louisiana, that was about a fifth of all the Democrats in the House in Louisiana voted for school choice. That's a groundbreaking development there. And then in Texas, all the Democrats voted against it, but the bill passed the Senate 18-13, no problem. And the Texas primary voters held these fake Republicans accountable at the ballot box. 10 of the 13 so-called Republicans who voted against school choice that my organization, School Choice Super PAC, AFC Victory Fund, targeted for voting against parental rights in education either lost their elections outright or were forced into a runoff, which will happen on May 28th. Most of those incumbents were in second place, which means they're probably going to lose their runoff election, which translates to a 77% win rate for school choice supporters backed by the American Federation for Children. And look, incumbents win 95% of the time. This is really a political earthquake that shattered rocked Texas on Super Tuesday.
Right. Well, parents love their children more than they love big government failed programs. Sheri, parents are rising up all over the country. They're telling lazy legislators that their kids don't belong to the state. The calls are growing louder, demanding of these politicians, hey, if you won't police GovEd, get out of parents' way so we can. It's kind of refreshing to see, isn't it?
Well, I think it is very refreshing to see parents standing up and fighting for their God-given rights parent and direct the education of their children. But I'll have to tell you that I differ a little bit with Corey on the issue. Our organization supports homeschooling as the best choice for parents, and we don't believe that putting government money into Christian and private schools is a good idea. We think that once they start taking the money, the shackles go on, and if the regulations aren't there now, there will be ultimately, and that's why homeschool parents all across the country are opposed to these money follow the child legislation efforts, because they understand that they have freedom now, and they don't want the government involved in any way, shape, or form with their choices to educate their children.
Yeah, and I've always looked at, government money. I've never looked at it as government money. I've looked at it as taxpayers' money. It's really ours. Disturbing stories out of Texas in the meantime, guys. One high school teacher has been arrested on child sex trafficking charges. She allegedly offered runaway students a place to stay, then forced them into sex slavery. 2 Denton, Texas school district principals have been indicted on charges of electioneering against school choice, using public funds to put their thumb on the scale of elections. Then there are myriad reports of teaching sexual deviancy and illegal critical race theory curriculums to Texas children. Corey, isn't this the very reason why parents need to have control over the purse strings, because government education can't be trusted with this?
Yeah, look, we can't make perfect the enemy of the good. We need to take the incremental step in the right direction, even if it's not our utopia of no government involvement in education at all. I agree with Sheri that homeschooling is the purest form of education freedom and it's the best way to educate your own children. But we got to take the win, we got to take the W, or else we're going to be stuck with the L, which is the status quo. The reality is you have 90% of kids stuck in completely government-controlled, government-run schools called the public school system, and you have a lot of far left ideology that's creeped its way into those institutions. We might as well give the families a choice to accept the funding or not. No family has ever been forced to participate in a school choice initiative, neither has any school. So we should let them make the decisions for their own families to vote with their feet to a private school and have the funding follow the student.
Yeah, and Sheri, on that score, I mean, parents are raked over the coals, in particular in Texas, by these out of control taxing districts. Do you think it's fair to force parents all over this country, if they want to homeschool their children, that the price for you is double? You've got to pay double to make that happen. Is that fair?
Well, of course, it doesn't sound fair the way you just cased it, but I'd have to say, as long as we are not reducing funding to government schools, then the taxpayers are being hit twice because they're coming up with these money follow the child's programs that's government money, whether, of course, it's taxpayer funding. Yes, I agree, but it's still government funding, and with government funding come regulations. So as long as they're creating these new pots of money for private education and they don't decrease the amount of funding to government schools, then taxpayers are getting hit twice. It harms taxpayers, and it is going to harm private and Christian schools because they're the ones at risk, not the parent. Because once they start accepting the money, then the regulations will follow. And the case was set with Hillsdale College in 1980 when they sued the federal government, and the federal government prevailed. And they said, as long as you accept students who have received government funding, you are subject to regulation. And I really believe that this is why I believe this is why the Democrats are suddenly coming on board, because they understand and they see that this is a way that they can control all education, and that's ultimately what they want.
Hey guys, I gotta leave it there, but more on this to come. Corey DeAngelis and Sheri Few, appreciate the good lively debate there. Straight ahead, FBI Director Christian